All right, Jack's here. Oh my God, I look wonderful. I've been cleaning because I have a political fundraiser at my house on Friday. So I've been trying to clean all day and then dealing with various phone calls with the Kaluzinski case and some other things in between. So I literally just sat down to go live here. Um, I'll wait a little bit for people to come on. Oh, and I have a mental, like make a sign that I could hold saying who I am, since that seems to be a big question I get throughout here when people tune in on who am I. Hello, Randy. So, and the purpose for today is, nothing in particular. Um, no sound. All right. So somebody tell me if somebody else say if they can hear me or not. Oh, well, you probably don't know that I'm saying that. I'll type it. Okay, then I won't type it. Laura's got sound now. So, um, so this is just anything anybody wants to discuss about the case. People seem to like to be able to, just chat live about it. So, thank you, Randy and Carrie. So anything you want to discuss, you can post, and we'll go from there. I know, I think I scheduled this to go a long time, but it also just depends on how many people are on and questions on how long I go. And then I'll get back to cleaning. So, because, yeah, I've got a political fundraiser at my house on Friday that was supposed to be out in the yard, and right now they're calling for rain on Friday. So I might have to host people in the house, so now I have to do a big cleaning for that. Not that anybody cares. Let me scroll down. Debbie hears me. Anne Marie hears me. And Laura said she went out and came back and all good. Good, because I'm really bad at the tech stuff. And I know there was a whole bunch of times that I was on and nobody could hear me and I couldn't figure anything out. I don't know how to do that stuff. Hey, get down from there. Sorry, dog problems. Hi, Sharon. And Charlena can hear me. Thank you, everybody. So, today should be the day that was the last day that Kathleen would have Bobby's computer. So I don't know when we'll hear something, but hopefully soon. Laura asked, how was Mrs. Avery's birthday? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it. So I don't know. And Kim says, hi, watching from Michigan. Hello, Kim. And hi, Anne Marie, who's waiting. So, and then I don't know if you guys all saw recently my interaction with Barb on the Stephen Avery Project public page, that Barb, for whatever reason, well, she came into both different threads that were titled that Barb gives Bobby's computer to KZ. So her major purpose was she wanted to, it's not Bobby's computer, but she started off by saying, duck you, Jax, which, my phone says duck a lot, because I've got a bad mouth. And so I type fuck a lot. And you would think my phone would know that that's what I'm trying to say, but it'll correct to duck. So I'm sure that's what happened to Barb, that she was saying, fuck you, Jax. She has since deleted that post. The duck you, Jax isn't there, but I have a screenshot of it. So it's currently my personal picture for Facebook. And then she posted saying Jax doesn't know anything. And then the rest of her posts were just constant, it's not Bobby's computer. Anybody could have used that computer. And so I was just posting question after question after question to try and get her to answer something, but she didn't, and then ran away. So that was our little Barb fun for the night. Patricia says, hello from Dorset, UK. And Anne-Marie says, does Dolores have much to do with Barb these days? No, and Dolores never did. Dolores and Barb have never had a good relationship. So, and I don't know where that stems from, but Barb's been the black sheep for quite a while. So, and I know Scott now has a lot to do with it as well. The family hates him. They all hate him. So, and actually when I visited with Dolores, she, she's not online. She doesn't follow any of, this stuff or know any of it that's going on. So she told me she thinks Scott is the killer. So, that's from her not being in the loop at all. So you could see how that would cause strain in the relationship that Barb is married to who Dolores thinks is the killer. Chris, I saw a message from somebody in one of the groups that they spoke with Steve and he said more info is coming. Do you know anything about new info coming? I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but I haven't talked to Steven in a while. I know that other group that you're referring to, they talk to Steven regularly. Every time I talk to Steven, he says that to me, that more is coming. So it's just something he always says, be ready. It's, so he always says that, but I assume it's going to be computer stuff, because that's what's next to come out. And also, if anybody else has come forward, the last time I talked to Steven, he had told me then that they still had more that they hadn't released yet, that he wasn't sure if they were going to release it now or hold on to it, so they already have more than we know, plus there's the computer. So, and hi, Jason from Wisconsin Dells. Do you live there or are you vacationing there? Though for those who don't know Wisconsin Dells is a big touristy thing in Wisconsin, and they've got like the most water parks in the country, I believe. So yeah, so it's a fun place to go, expensive place to go, but it's a cool little weekend vacation place. Laura says that post that is on Stephen Avery project that has been circulating on other missing person pages in Wisconsin, just FYI. I don't know what you're talking about there, Laura. I haven't been online at all today or much recently because I've been doing other stuff. Are you talking about Carmen Bootwell from Wisconsin? Oh, Jason, you live in the Dells, so you get to go to the water parks whenever. Fun. Shelly says, I'm glad that you go to the time and trouble to keep us posted on everything, all that breaking down info for us. I try, but that's why I also make sure I tell people I am by no means an expert. I'm not trying to be. So I just do the best I can with what I got. So, Jason, too many tourists. Yeah. My family goes there, because I'm in Illinois. I'm in a Chicago suburb. And so my family likes to go there like for Christmas because it's indoor water park stuff. Sand, hello, wave. So yeah, so we're waiting on the computer stuff. And then also the court has to respond to the filings sometime beginning of September. So it's right around the coroner. So we'll be hearing some more stuff really soon. Yeah, Shelley says to read it all gives me a headache. I try to stick to the basics. Yeah, it can be overwhelming. And that's what I've said too, that I've forgotten tons of stuff that I knew at one time from researching everything. I can't remember it all. I can't keep up with it. So, and I forget, because also a lot of the stuff is crazy that these people are like all related to each other up there, and I can't remember that and who's related to who and all this stuff. Jason says, I love Chicago. My daughter goes to school there. I go there often. Nice. Yeah, I'm there a lot. I'm an activist, so I'm there a lot for various protests and meetings and such. Depending on traffic, it can be a 30-minute drive for me, or it can be an hour and a half drive. So, yeah, so it's not far from me, but traffic sucks. And hello, Janet. So yeah, waiting to hear from the state to see if she will get an evidentiary hearing, where then she'll be presenting all this evidence that she has and trying to get a new trial from that. Tammy says, thoughts on the jurors speaking up, is that legit? Oh, I haven't heard that either. There's the one juror, the dismissed juror, Richard Mahler. He's been speaking up for the last 2 years. So I don't know if any other jurors have recently spoken up. I know a couple of them at one point talked to Laura and Moira from the documentarians from Making a Murderer. So I remember that. But yeah, I don't know about the jurors speaking up. And it's funny you say that, because on my call today with Paul Kaluzinski, another case that Kathleen Zellner represents, her dad and I were on the phone. And so we're trying to now find Melissa's jurors, because we have heard that some of them have said that if they had all the evidence back then that was kept from them, they would have ruled innocent. So we're trying to find them to see if they would talk. And so we just did that today. And Helen made a post on the Melissa Kaluzinski page, because Paul's been told that some of the jurors are on that page. So we want to see if we can get them to come forward and talk to us about it. Laura says, they found her body years ago and they call her Jane Doe. Give some kind of description of what she may look like, where she is from, etc. Interesting. Shelley says, wondering what's the longest KZ has worked on one particular case. I don't know. I know she's been on Melissa's case for a long time. And then she says it typically takes her 16 years to free somebody. So I don't know. That would be interesting to look into. The Ryan Ferguson case. And then here in Illinois, she was the Riley Fox case. So I don't know how long she worked on any of those. Anne Marie says, Uyghur got voted in. How terrible for the community. I know. And there was no Democrat running in that primary. So it was, so it was only the two Republicans. So whichever Republican got the nomination is automatically the sheriff. So yeah, that's horrible. That he's a horrible, horrible man. Shelley is wondering, how many people has she gotten freed? I believe the number is 20. I don't know if she's freed 20 or that she has said that Stephen would be number 20. Tammy says, thank you. Might be something old someone shared. Something about a couple felt threatened to say guilty. I just seen it a few days ago on one of the sites. Yes. So one of the men on the jury, I'm trying to remember his name right now. I can't remember his name. It starts with a W. It's like Warden or something like that. And he's the one that he worked for the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department as a volunteer. So there's even a picture of him in a community service officer for Manitowoc Sheriff's Department. So it's him with the car. And then also there's this picture. So like whenever you Google Stephen Avery and go to look up, pictures of him, there's always a picture of him being escorted outside of the courthouse. He's in the orange jumpsuit. His hands are cupped in front of him. And there's a female with him and a male. Well, the male that's with him is this man's son. And so this man went into it from the get-go that his mission was Stephen is guilty. And so this guy did kind of bully the jury. And so that's what some people said. And so that's why allegedly the compromise that's why they voted not guilty on mutilation of a body. So he was found guilty on first-degree murder and a felon possessing a firearm, and not guilty on body mutilation. And so those people were hoping that would create a mistrial. So Stephen would be able to get another trial because they were so intimidated by this guy. Patricia says, I saw some photos of, is that Brendan? Because it just says BD. So Brendan with Barb and Scott during one of their visits. Yes, okay. Not sure how old the photo is, but does Scott still have the brass neck to visit Brendan? Yes, he does. He doesn't go all the time. He didn't go at all prior to making a murderer. Neither did most anybody in the family. Carla didn't go. Nobody went. Barb went. Barb went and visited both Stephen and Brendan. And Stephen's parents went to go visit him. Stephen, not Brendan. Scott started visiting when Making a Murderer went out, and he goes and visits when he wants a photo op. I know Brendan hates when Scott goes because Scott just yells about stuff and swears and, has his little tantrums. And so Brendan would rather have a visit with just his mom or anybody else for that matter. Brendan would like to see anybody, not Scott. Brendan doesn't like Scott. At least that's what he told me. And Holly says, hello from New Zealand. Hello, New Zealand. And it's something I've said before too. Scott and Brendan don't really know each other because, Barb and Scott were having an affair and were keeping their relationship secret because Barb was married to Tom Yanda, which is Scott's cousin. So they were keeping it on the down low. So obviously he wasn't around any of her kids. And then when the divorce was final or whatever, it was still keeping it, she was going and spending the night at Scott's trailer, leaving her two sons who are still in high school at home alone while she goes and sleeps with Scott. Scott doesn't really know Brendan other than going to visit him in prison. But now he thinks he gets to speak for Brendan. Shelley says, does Brendan realize that his mother is doing nothing to help free him? I don't have any contact with Brendan. And I would think he still at this point thinks his mom is his sun and moon and stars, but Brendan does have TV and does see the news. So I have heard that he has seen some stuff that has made him question things to other people. But Barb really is only giving access to people that she can control. So her little, as they call themselves, the Dassy Nation, which I just think is so ridiculous. And I'm sorry if there's Gassy Nation people here, but I find a lot of the other groups so childish and immature, and they creep me out. With all the pictures that get made of Brendan being in the sun and all they do all this really weird stuff. Somebody sent me yesterday too that they have a day like let's eat special food for Brendan Day. I don't get it, and that's why I say again, they're fans, not supporters. They're, like creepy fans. I don't know. So that's all Barb lets be around Brendan. So he's only getting that information. And his lawyers aren't going to say anything to him that's going to upset him. So right now, I'm sure Brendan just believes everything his mother says. Anne Marie says, can't Scott be barred from visiting by the jail? Brendan's visitors list is up to Brendan. He's only allowed X amount of visitors, and he has to put them on the list. And so Brendan's going to have on his list whoever Barb tells him to. So like when Barb told him to take Carla off, he took Carla off. When Barb told him to put Carla back on, he put Carla back on. So it's all up to Brendan, and Barb controls that. Shelly says, I hope that Stephen gets out while his parents are still around. Me too. Because those parents have just been through so much to have their son taken from them, not once but twice. And so Kathleen has only been on the case for 2 years. It can't go another 14 years. Did I do the correct math there? I'm horrible at math. So and also when I visited Dolores, she doesn't go to the prison that often because she can't. She's not mobile. So now she doesn't get to see Stephen as much as she would like because she's just not physically able to go. So she just gets the phone calls. So yeah, let's hope that this can turn around and he goes home soon. Patricia Ann says, was just going to ask the same. I'm surprised his lawyers don't withdraw Scott's visiting rights. Well, back when I used to talk to Brendan's lawyers, when I told them the stuff that Scott said about Brendan, I was told there's nothing they can do about it as long as Barb is married to him. So they were just letting it go. So again, it's all Barb's fault, So Brendan doesn't want to see Scott. Add another one of his wacky Brendan Dassey, the Dassey Nation weirdos. That would be a better visit for Brendan that he would enjoy over Scott. Scott's taking up prime real estate to be on there. He shouldn't be on that list. Holly says, sorry I came late. Is there any news from KZ regarding the computer analysis? No, Holly, today should have been the last day, I believe, that she would have possession of it, because she only had 10 days, which I don't get the whole 10 days thing because the state had it for 8 months. So, but, and I don't know if we'll hear what they found or not, because isn't that what Kathleen wanted sealed too, was something having to do with the computer? So I don't know. But as soon as we hear, it'll get posted. The moderators from Stephen Avery Project, not me, the other people, they are on top of everything. They find stuff right away and get it posted. So as soon as it's out and they can get it, we'll post it. And then we'll do a live thing too to chat about it. Sorry, Jeffrey, that you're having broadband problems. Shelly says, for what has happened, his parents have basically been in prison with him. Right. Yeah. So, and then also you got to remember too, Stephen lost his children. because his kids were all young the first time he went in. And so eventually, him and they got divorced, and she kept the kids from him. They were young enough that you couldn't force them to go, or they couldn't go on their own. So he lost his kids, and then he only got to be out for 2 years. And he was in a relationship with Jody. We all know now Jody's a piece of shit, but he was in love with Jody, so he had a relationship, and money was coming, and he had dreams and freedom, and then it was all taken away again. So it's all so aggravating. So we have 36 people on. Any questions or anything anyone wants to discuss? Oh my God, I've been on for almost a half hour already. But there is no new news right now. Shelly says, does his kids have contact with him? No. I believe his one daughter, Jennifer, she used to visit. He used to talk to her, but she now has her own family and kids and stuff. So I don't think he has a whole lot of contact with her either. So, it's sad. Stephen pretty much has his parents. He does talk to his brothers. Sorry about the messages. His brothers, and then he talks with Sandra and Shaz and Carol from the Truth Wins group. And I know he's got a girl that I can't remember what state that he's talking to, that he's interested in having a relationship with. I haven't talked to him in like 3 weeks or so. So, and the last time I talked to him, we didn't talk about the girl that time. So I don't know if that's something that's still going on. Jesse says, that's so sad that they never got the chance to know him. I know this, this case is heartbreaking on so many levels. Kim says, when Brendan gets out, don't you think he will believe that was due to Barb's efforts, not what other people tell him about her true efforts or lack thereof? I think once Brendan is free, I mean, it's really going to depend on, what comes out, and how he's free. If it's shown that this was Bobby and Scott and Barb had any part of the cover up, that will be mentioned in court. He'll hear it all. So, which is another sad part of this story, because it's going to devastate him. His mom has been the one constant he's had in his life. So to find that out is going to be brutal. And then also the people right now that he talks to, the Dassy Nation, they're there because they're fans. They're not true supporters. And so I don't truly know who Brendan's going to have. Tracy, that Barb replaced Amy with, she lives in Australia, and she's an odd one. If people think that Tracy is all on the up and up, well, I've got tons of screenshots I could show you from back when we were actually all working together, that Tracy isn't what she seems. This is the gossip group, so I can say those kinds of things. But Tracy Keogh is nasty, nasty, nasty. And Monica Foxley is nasty, nasty, nasty. And those are the kinds of people that Barb now puts in charge because, they're nasty people and we'll just listen to whatever Barb has to say. Anne Marie saw an interview with his twin boys. Gee, they look like him, don't they? And one is Stephen Jr. too. They seemed confused to me about their dad. Yeah, well, because their mom's been filling their heads with bullshit about Stephen. They do have a Facebook group, Avery Twin Boys Support Group or something like that. I'm in the group, but nothing gets posted there. One of their wives used to post stuff, but what's there really for them to post in there when they don't talk to their dad or see him or anything? So there's nothing really to update. Roll says, can you elaborate on the role of DA Fallon? He seems to have been trying desperately to withhold evidence from KZ, according to a recent Reddit post. I haven't read that. It was one of the Stephen Avery moderators that found that and posted it, and I've been cleaning my house all day, so I haven't read it yet. So I don't know what's all in there about Fallon. But yeah, the gist of it that I got is, yeah, he's been trying to hide stuff and get stuff dragged out and keep it from Zellner. So I don't know. Maybe somebody who's read it can post something in here. And yeah, I gotta read it. But as soon as I'm done with this, I'm gonna go back to cleaning. Shelley says, curious to know if Teresa's parents watched Making a Murderer. I don't know. Because they keep themselves so separated from everything, where they don't talk to press usually. They stay very private. I know I would have to watch it if I was them, but I understand it would be hard. They're believing law enforcement, and also, they lost Teresa. So, and Teresa's mom is actually married to Teresa's uncle. When Teresa's dad died, her mom married her husband's brother. Because again, people only, and this isn't me trying to dog the Hallback family, but I just think it's funny how guilters will want to dog the Avery family about those things. Barb is now married to Scott, which was husband number two's cousin, and that Brendan's dad, Pete Dassey, is married to Stephen's ex-wife. But Teresa's mom is married to her brother-in-law. Her husband died and she married her husband's brother. So, so Teresa's stepdad that you see in everything is Teresa's uncle. But you have to remember they lost Teresa and they don't want to hear the stuff that's in there of what was done, what people think was done to Teresa. So I don't know. Sand says, I hear this big deep bark and then I look in back of you and see this little dog. Haha. Yeah, I have 3 dogs, a big, medium, and small. So they're all rescues. So the big one you're hearing is a Pit Bull Lab mix. And then there's a Chihuahua mix, but he's bigger than you would think for a Chihuahua. So he's our medium. And then the one that's up here right now on the couch, that's a Chihuahua Min Pin. So them all being rescues, we don't know for sure what they all are. Okay, no other questions at this time. Oh, and I have to look into this. I haven't looked at any of my email yet today, but the Illinois Innocence Project keeps emailing me about something going on in Illinois that needs help passing. Christy, yay, Christy's here, so she'll post stuff that I talk about, but she can find it all. She says it was definitely worth reading, very long, but worth it. Fallon makes himself look guilty of something by his email responses, or lack of responses, I should say. And then also, is Fallon related to somebody? Because that's a thing too. I can't remember all that. Somebody needs to do a whole graph of showing who's all related to who, because it really is crazy, all the relations. And somebody from one of the law enforcement agencies also owns a competing salvage yard that's not far from Avery Salvage Yard. And then that person is also related to somebody else. I think it's that Gene Cush guy, the pencil guy who drew the, God guided his pencil to draw Stephen Avery's mugshot almost to the T in the first one. So all these different connections, it's crazy. Shelley says, if there was a shadow of doubt, I would want to know everything I could about the case. I agree. That's how I felt when, and I'm not involved. It's not my loved one that was killed. But after I watched Making a Murderer, I'm like, where's this case now? Are Stephen and Brendan really guilty? What's really going on there? I wanted to know. And if it was somebody in my family, absolutely, I would want to know everything. Or if it was something that I really don't want to know, or have to go through hearing of what was allegedly done to them, then I would want somebody I trust to see it and then tell me if it's, if I would be able to handle it and see it, or be able to just tell me what it was and I don't have to watch it. Roll says, is the RAV4 definitely Teresa's? The color in the police report doesn't match the purchase order. I know there's so much of that, was it a totally different vehicle? The thing that I keep saying on there is that the color of her car is deceiving, that in some light it looks blue and in some light it looks green. And I said, my car is the same thing. I have a Ford, and I believe the name of the color is a Patriot Blue. So it's like this blue where when you look at it one way, you see it's blue and it's like sparkly. But then when you look at it from afar, it just looks black. So I don't know if that's just a confusion, where depending on how you see it, it looks like a blue vehicle or it looks like a green vehicle. And then some people may put it down as it was blue, so purchase order could say it was blue. And then a police report would say green. I don't know. All I do know is they're not giving that RAV4 to Kathleen to do her own testing on, which is bullshit. Shelley says, who got elected to what? Wiegert. So one of the people that forced Brendan into a false confession was just elected sheriff of Calumet County. Shelley says, I need a poster with everyone's picture. Yeah, absolutely. It's probably something that would be in Reddit. The Reddit board, the TikTok Manitowoc. I'm not a Reddit expert, but I know there's like one Reddit board, which is basically guilters. And it was something that I guess it used to be a good board, and then it got taken over, and now it's guilters. But the one that says TikTok Manitowoc or whatever it's called, that's the one that has people who think they're innocent on. And they do so much investigating there. They've got, a lot of people who find a lot of good stuff. And so I could totally see Reddit people doing that. So maybe it's already been done, but it should be something that we put together at some point. Laura says, can KZ demand or should say ask for a different judge? Obviously, this judge will do or say anything to keep them in prison to save his own ass. She did already, and it was denied. And I don't get our legal system. Somebody asked me about that or made a post on Stephen Avery Project recently, from another country, and not understanding why it would go to the same judge. I don't get it either. I don't know. But she tried to take it to another judge and was denied. Shelley says, who is TikTok? TikTok is something that people say all the time by saying your time is running out. And so it's something that's said a lot. And I believe there's the person who used to run the Reddit or whatever, he goes by the name, or she, TikTok Manitowoc. And they're on Twitter too. So if you're a Twitter person, follow this TikTok Manitowoc because they know their shit. So recommend you follow TikTok Manitowoc on Twitter and find the Reddit page, or Christy will be posting the links for you in here. Oh, and now I just scrolled down and Jason posted the Reddit. Thank you, Jason. Because yeah, I go to that one too, and we'll scan it. Because a lot of really smart people in there that they find good stuff there. And so when the moderators here come across, something that's really interesting, they share the link here. Because something that I want to make sure is, of course, when we find good stuff elsewhere, we want you guys to know about it, but I want the original source to get that credit for it. So, so even if you find something somewhere, if anybody wants to post something on Stephen Avery Project or in the Gossip group, just include the link from where it is. So that place gets the traffic for it, because some pages too, like maybe they're making money off of the traffic. We don't at Facebook, but I want to make sure that place gets the credit for it. Christy, TikTok was permanently banned from Reddit and is now only on Twitter. Okay, yeah, I've heard something about that. But yeah, so if you're on Twitter, follow that person. Catherine says, I saw someone posting saying they'd spoken to Stephen who said there's more to come. What do you think it might be? Somebody said that earlier on in this, and Stephen says that every time I talk to him, that there's more to come. So I know one of the times I talked to him, he had said they already had more stuff, that Kathleen was holding on to it and wasn't sure when she was going to release it. And then we also have whatever's going to be found on the computer. So I don't like to put too much thought into those things because this case goes so many ways. So I just wait for Kathleen to release it and then soak it all in. So yeah, I'm just waiting to see what she found on the computer. Yeah, Tammy says 10 days almost up. I thought today was the last day of the 10 days, but I don't know for sure. Christy says the community is still active, but the individual is not. So yeah, the TikTok Manitowoc Reddit group. Yeah, so but it so and the link's in here. So people go to that and then follow TikTok on Twitter. Janet says there is something about the RAV4 the cops don't want Kathleen to find. Right. Because there were prints on the RAV4 that have never been identified. So, but the state never looks because they're only looking for Stephen / Brendan, which of course there's no Brendan prints or anything on that car. And one of the stories they had told was Brendan and Stephen drove the RAV4 together. So why isn't there anything of Brendan in there? So yeah, so there's prints that were never identified, but I'm sure the state has never looked to see who those are. So they don't want Kathleen to have it because Kathleen will find whose prints those are. So will it be law enforcement or Ryan Hilgas, Scott Blodorn, Mike Hallbach? Since, my theory is they're the ones that helped law enforcement plant the RAV4 at Avery Salvage. So, yeah. So, and can she get proof of that blood being planted? Roll says, like missing all of Teresa's DNA in that car. Yeah, yeah. Again, so Teresa she drove that car a lot. When you're driving around to take photographs, not just for Auto Trader, all her private gigs, going to weddings or birthday parties or whatever, she's driving all the time. Her prints have to be, in DNA, and yet it's not on her key. Christy, she inadvertently posted someone's phone number publicly for 6 minutes and therefore permanently banned. I don't like all that shit. I know they talk about the whole doxing and blah blah blah. That stuff's in the files that we get. So yeah, we see, and they still have those same phone numbers. Avery people do still have those same phone numbers that are in those files, but you could find them anyway. So that's just ridiculous to kick somebody out because, oh my God, I didn't see in this one instance the phone number wasn't blacked out. Dumb. And Christy continues saying, whoever TikTok is, they're unbelievably funny and snarky. LOL, I love them. Me too. I'm not a Twitter person. I'm hardly ever on there. If you see, because Stephen Avery Project, we do have a Twitter. It's like Bravery SAP or SAP Bravery or something like that. And it's hooked to the Stephen Avery Project Facebook page. So anytime me or any of the moderators make a post on the public Stephen Avery Project, it automatically gets tweeted. But I don't do Twitter. So, but I will occasionally see TikTok stuff, and yeah, really good. All right, and Anne-Marie says, didn't KZ buy Teresa's RAV4? No, she bought another one, a duplicate, to test things out herself, since she didn't have access to the other one. So yeah, she bought a RAV4 and has done whatever, she's doing to recreate things. Just like I know she brought Stephen a RAV4 valet key, like was found, and made him keep grabbing it, let go, grabbing it, let go, a whole bunch of times so she could test it to see if his DNA went on it. And it didn't. Like what they said was on there. Catherine says, not Teresa's car, but a similar one. So, okay, yeah, other people already answering it. Christy says, I agree, LOL, it's public record anyway. I know. So, when you're posting stuff, that's a legal document, and then blame the court. Why are they releasing this stuff? Well, the court clerk is who releases this stuff. Then she should be redacting everything and taking out those phone numbers. But and there's a lot of pages in some of these things. So, and you're just getting it electronically, and so that's just a bunch of bullshit. And people shouldn't be weirdos either and call these people. Chrissy says, I just started Twitter just so I could follow TikTok Manitowoc. I get it. Yeah, because that person does, post a lot of really good information. They really know this case. And they're snarky and funny, and I'm a bitch, and, I like people like that. It's entertaining. So we are at a little bit 5:45, so I'll go 6 my time. So I'll go till 6 o'clock today and get back to cleaning my house. If anything breaks any day, if we find out about the computer and stuff, we'll go live again. So, we can do this and discuss it. And I do a lot of the live stuff here in this closed group, because instead of doing it on the Stephen Avery Project public page, because for one, we do our best to keep guilters out of here. We know they have fake names and stuff, so there's probably guilters that are in here that still watch it, but we're trying to minimize the bullshit, of people seeing stuff. And then also a lot of people that go to the public page, they don't want to hear any of the drama stuff. They only want to know case stuff. So we have more leeway here in the gossip group that we can talk about some of that stuff if people want to, and not just Case. Tammy, no Barb tonight? You never know. I'm going to tell you guys a secret. You won't tell anybody else, right? I may have said this though at some time, but one time Stephen called me, and I can't even remember what he asked me to post, but it was that Kathleen wanted me to post something to push Barb's buttons to draw her out. And I had said to Stephen at that time, I'm like, your family already hates me, because Barb and Carla hate me. So I'm like, your family already hates me. And if I post that, they're going to hate me even more. Not that I care. But and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. And I know I was out of town and I was at a hotel when Stephen called me. I can't remember, so it was a year ago or more. So I, and it was something Kathleen was asking for to draw Barb out. So I posted it. And so same thing goes with when Barb was on just the other day. I'm like, all right, well, if she's on here, I'm going to post all this stuff and see if I can get her to respond on anything, because she's not bright. And a lot of times she does just want to explain something or tell another lie. So I was hoping it, by me, because I made post after post, question after question after question. I was hoping maybe it would draw her out and she would say something that would incriminate somebody. I would trip them up or something. I don't know. And I liked messing with her. Carrie says, I think it was Scott's record. What was Scott's record? I don't know if that was something that discussed earlier. And now I don't recall. So 35 people on. Let me check to see. Okay, there's nobody in my thing that's trying to get approved into the gossip group. No more questions or comments right now. We got 10 minutes to go. Oh, new comments. Sharon says, if KZ gets Stephen out, what does that mean for Brendan? Nothing. They are two separate cases. So I recommend people watch. I don't know where you can find it. If you can Google it and find it, I believe it's called Dream Killer. It's the Ryan Ferguson story. And that's another Zellner client. And so it was Ryan Ferguson's friend. A guy was murdered. And then like 2 years after the murder, the guy came forward saying he dreamed that he and Ryan killed the guy. And so Ryan Ferguson went to prison, was found guilty just on that. And then Kathleen represented Ryan Ferguson and got him out. And Ryan just got the other day a $5 million award. So, but watch Dreamcatcher and you'll see that Ryan Ferguson got out, and Ryan always declared his innocence, but his friend Charlie, who confessed, is still there. And I know there's somebody who's suspected as being the real killer in that, but I don't think Kathleen's ever done the, I know who did it and all that kind of stuff. So Charlie's still in prison. So, yeah, it doesn't automatically mean Brendan gets out. But with this being such a huge case, and if Kathleen does completely, break this wide open, and without a doubt that Brendan is not guilty, hopefully that will at least help Brendan get a new trial. I don't know. Carrie says it was something about Scott, if anybody has had any trouble with him. Okay. And then Kim says, paging Barbara Dada. Come in, Barb. Are you here? Yeah, this is a closed group. So as far as I know, Barb does not have access to this group. She only has access to the public Stephen Avery Project page. So she won't be in here. But I'm sure we do have somebody in here who's a Dassy Nation freak and reports what we say and do here back to Barb. Anne Marie says, this is so informative. Thanks, Jax. The whole situation is so horrible. We need to keep seeing what's going on so we know they'll get out. I know. You just have to, you just have to hang on. We have a whole lot of months that nothing happens. This case goes quiet. And right now we're in the thick of it with a whole bunch of stuff going on right now. So, and we here will cover it as it goes. And if Stephen gets a new trial or an evidentiary hearing, I'm going to go up to Wisconsin for it. Paul Kaluzinski is going to go with me. So, I'll be there in the courtroom if I'm able to and see it all happen. Rhonda says, LOL, KZ knows that Barb is likely to say something she'll regret. Right, because, Barb, you push her and she gets flustered, and she just really, really, really wants people to think that Scott and Bobby are innocent. Catherine says, does Steve realize what Barb and CC are like? Absolutely, he does. That's why you'll notice you don't see any of Barb or Carla's photo ops with Stephen. Stephen removed her from his visitors list a long time ago. Stephen has told her over and over again, all the groups that she has, so the Avery Dassy Project, which she named it Project because she was trying to rip off this and trying to trick people to go to her page. He wants his name off of everything she does. And has said she doesn't represent him. But on the other side, Stephen is loyal to his family. So he's never going to completely write them off because they are his blood. But yeah, Carla doesn't get her little photo ops with Stephen anymore because he removed her. And so that's why you'll see her with Brendan, because look at the visitor logs. The visitor logs are out there. You'll see that Carla never visited Stephen until Christmas after Making a Murderer came out. Once it had now hit big. Now all of a sudden she goes and visits him. So he knows exactly what Barb and Carla have done. And he knows what Carla and her minions have done to his supporters, and he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the attacks on Shaz or Sandra. He doesn't like the drama bullshit. He wants people coming to Stephen Avery Project or the Truth Wins group just in support of him in the case. He doesn't want all this bullshit. Carrie says, Stephen asked you to see if anyone had trouble with Scott in the past, something along those lines. You're right. Yeah. So we do know that Scott abused a past girlfriend. There are court documents about that. He broke into her house and had threatened to kill her and that kind of stuff. Tammy says Devil's Knot. Yeah, Devil's Knot is that's another it's a movie that covers the West Memphis 3 case, which that was a case when it was happening. I was glued to those poor 3 kids that people just jumped on. That they wore black shirts and Metallica shirts and those kinds of things. And as you can see, obviously, I've got a whole lot of tattoos, and so I'm judged that way as well. So it was something that I was drawn to on that case, that people automatically assume that these teen boys that listen to heavy metal music, which I do as well, and war, those kinds of things. Oh, obviously they killed these kids. So yeah, Devil's Knot and Paradise Lost we talked about before on another live thing, which is on HBO on demand. And there's 3 of those. So watch that case. It's fascinating. Sharon says, thank you so much for this group, and thank you for being a part of it. You know, when we extended into this, we wanted to keep Stephen Avery Project as it was intended to cover the case. And Stephen wants it to cover just him. And so in this gossip group that we're live in right now, we can discuss Brendan's case if we'd like, or, you know, of course, I'm going to discuss Melissa Kaluzinski and Kent Pellegrini, 2 other of Zellner's clients that I advocate for, that those cases are here in Illinois. And then we'll also talk about the family bullshit in here. So you have more leeway in the gossip group than you do on the Stephen Avery Project. Janet says, I would think Bobby is sweating bullets right now. Ha ha. Paul Kaluzinski actually said to me, he wouldn't be surprised if Bobby killed himself. You know, that the heat is, you know, so tough on him right now. So yeah. But if he runs, you know, he's guilty. You know, why else would you run? So he's in a tough spot. Anne Marie says, does Bobby still live with Barb and Scott? No. Bobby bought his own home on, it's like 20 acres. Christy has posted the link before. So I guess, Christy, you would be blocked from Reddit for posting that, because wouldn't that be, there's my son texting me. Hold on, he's asking me if I'm going to be home tonight. So I'm saying, yeah. So I guess you'd be blocked from Reddit for posting where Bobby lives, even though it's public. You can, you know, just look up Bobby Gassi and you find his house. So it's curious how he got the money to buy this house and all this property. So yeah, Bobby does not live with Barb and Scott. He is married and has 2 children. So yeah, nobody lives with Barb and Scott. And they have because her other sons, Brian and Blaine, were thrown out by Scott. Scott actually physically fought with both of those boys. So, and didn't want those boys living in his house. So, and Scott has also said that he doesn't want Brendan living in his house. So yeah, they live alone. Roll says, this theory is already 3 years old, but seems to be backed up by recent KZ discoveries. Also worth reading. Thank you for the link. And Roll, feel free to post that too in the gossip group. Make it its own thread, you know, because it might get lost in here. So people can find it. And there's Christy posting Bobby's house. Thank you very much, Christy. And Tammy gives Christy the thumbs up. So, and I never met Bobby, and but Amy has. I believe Amy has been to Bobby's home, I think. I only met Brian, the oldest son, and then and used to talk to Brendan on the phone until Barb cut me off. So, but I met Brian. Didn't talk to him very long, but he seemed like a really nice guy. Christy says, I wish we could go sit outside his house. I am an activist. I schedule lots of protests. And now we are at 6:01, and I said we would end at 6 o'clock. 25 people on right now. So anybody got anything? If not, I'm going to say goodbye and go back to cleaning my house. Janet says, do you know if Chuck let Kathleen do any tests of the garage? I don't know if he did. I know Chuck has been very receptive to Kathleen in the past. Letting her on the property and taking her to Stephen's trailer and the garage and all that kind of stuff. So I would think if Kathleen asked him to, and there's Roll making the post in the group that we have it set for people got to get our approval for stuff posted first, just in case it'll be bad people trying to post bullshit. But I would think if Kathleen did request it, Chuck would allow it. Because I do know Chuck and Steve and are on good terms right now, and I know Dolores would absolutely want it. And Tammy says Bobby Anthony. Yes, that's Bobby goes by Bobby Anthony on Facebook. He took Dassey off his name. Tammy says, thanks for having me again, Jax. Well, thank you for coming again, Tammy. Anne Marie, happy cleaning. Yeah, I know. Christy says, Kendra Marie is his wife. All Facebook profiles pretty locked down. Yeah, Kendra is a nurse. So, all right. Well, then I'm going to end this here and go back to cleaning for a little while. And yeah, as soon as we hear something about the computer, or if you find it before us, you know, feel free, you know, share what you find. You know, so we like it, you know, that if you would share it here, if you come across it, because we do have the moderators with Stephen Avery Project are all over the place. So we do have people, you know, we have people from out of the country too. So there are moderators available at all times, since their day is our night or my night. So you can typically always find a moderator if you need one. And these are all people, Chrissy's going back to cleaning too. So yeah, thank you guys all again for this little pop on with nothing new. And as soon as there is something new, go live again. So, all right, bye. Thanks for coming.